Hello everyone! Chips and scratches on the body appear after a couple of years of Russian operation. In places of chips and other damage to the case, rust can appear, and quite quickly. Therefore, with the restoration of the paintwork, it is better not to delay. From the eyes and regions, chrome-plated body parts also get. The coating of external decor elements swells and flies around already in the second or third year of life. Paint chips primarily affect the A-pillars and the roof. It is better to tint any damage with special pencils and as quickly as possible. A brown coating on the metal appears quite quickly. Sealant for 5 to 7 years. Wipe the reciprocal sections of doorways to bare metal. The windshield cannot boast of durability either. It is quickly rubbed with brushes, and the chips that appear on it soon turns into cracks. Instead of a standard part, we recommend a non-original one. Such a front end is much cheaper and lasts much longer. In the cabin, the plastic of the front panel and door cards are easily scratched. It happens that it is enough to hold a sloppy hand, as stripes remain from the nails of the dashboard. By 100,000 kilometers, the steering wheel braid is overwritten. Over time, stains from condensation remain on the upholstery of the ceiling near the lighting shades. It seems to be a trifle, but it does not look neat. By the way, not only the body suffers from corrosion, but also the engines, of which there are 3 on the Outlander and all of them are gasoline. On these power units, the radiator leaks over time. Dealer cars are protected by a special coating that prevents the penetration of corrosion. In our conditions, radiators rarely last more than 4 to 5 years. In fairness, we note that on all warranty machines, the current radiators were changed for free. Both gasoline 4s of the Mivix series and with indices 4 volts 11 and 4 volts 12, respectively, are similar in design. In the drive of the gas distribution mechanism, the resource of which is almost 207 to 300,000 kilometers. Yes, and the Mivix variable valve timing system on the intake and exhaust shafts is not satisfactory. In addition, the engines are adapted to Russian operation conditions and are designed for 90-second gasoline. They are quite simple in design and practically devoid of congenital source. For example, 2.0 and 2.4-liter 4s, similar in design, come to repairmen mainly due to the natural wear of the cylinder piston group. Although it should be noted that the rings of the motors are thin, but fortunately they are not subject to occurrence. However, the 4s also have their own characteristic source. After 60,000 to 90,000 kilometers of run, the sealing ring between the converter and the manifold burns out. This malfunction is accompanied by an increase in the volume of the exhaust system. The corrugation of receiving pipe can withstand a little more. Factory replacement, along with a catalyst, which is very expensive. There is an exit. Both 4s do not have hydraulic compensators in the valve drive. Adjustment every 100,000 kilometers is carried out manually. In practice, even less so. No less reliable is the 3-liter 227 horsepower V6. True, given its more complex design, the 6 is noticeably more expensive to maintain compared to the 4s. But its resource is higher, up to 350 to 450,000 kilometers. In addition, the engine is equipped with a timing belt drive, the replacement of which, according to the regulators, is 90,000 kilometers. Usually, the belt withstands this period, although there have been cases of teeth, cutting or breakage before this period. This is usually due to the fault of the current camshaft oil seals, from where the oil enters the belt and corrodes it. Therefore, it is necessary to visually check its technical condition in advance. In general, the 6 is reliable and managed to recover from childhood illnesses. the main of which were torn in the linears and were of the intake manifold flaps. But the engine mounts get tired of damping vibration by 80,000 kilometers and sometimes even earlier. You also need to monitor the pressure in the lubrication system. Its decrease due to the fault of the oil pump adversely affects the necks and beds of the crankshafts, camshafts and rocker arms. It is integrated into the front cover of the engine and changed as an assembly. By 150,000 kilometers, the valve cover may crack, unable to withstand the temperature loads from the knee boring manifold. Approximately the same amount withstands neutralizers. Moreover, it is impossible to pull with a replacement. Faulty cats are quickly destroyed and small particles of honeycombs can get into the cylinder. Over the entire period of production of the Outlander, the variator has been constantly improved and modernized, as a result of which its resource has come close to 200,000 kilometers. For the sake of this, the Japanese, after the first restyling, began to install an additional cooling radiator. But the new generation Jetco variator GF016E, which appeared in 2015, although it is still sensitive to oil purity, on the whole works noticeably longer than its predecessor, up to 250 to 300,000 kilometers. The 6-speed hydromechanical automatic Jetco GF613 paired with a V6 is preferable to a variator in terms of reliability. Although the box is not so quick, but before a serious repair with a revision of the valve body and friction clutches, it is almost guaranteed to run 150,000 kilometers and even more. The main thing is not to overheat it and renew the oil more often after 50 to 60,000 kilometers. He does not like driving with slippage and the center clutch in the all-wheel drive transmission, and on the road it quickly overheats. Therefore, when buying a used Mitsubishi Outlander, be sure to check its condition. Otherwise, the burden of costs for replacing the clutch, cardan shaft with an outboard bearing or repairing gearboxes will fall entirely on the shoulders of the second owner. Newly minded Outlander owners will sooner or later have to deal with suspension problems. However, they are by no means global, but still. The most popular parts from dealers are stabilizers, struts and bushings, which were out at 50 to 90,000 kilometers. But ball bearings and silent blocks of levers nursed decently for 100. The front shock absorbs can withstand about the same, and the rear ones usually change a little earlier. If you often use the crossover as a truck, the rear springs will quickly sag. Instead of the original ones, it is better to install reinforced analogs. At the same time, you will save twice. The remaining elements of the chassis also nose up to hundreds of thousands of kilometers or more. In order to prolong the life of the suspension, some dealers try to protect its elements with a special lubricant that prevents the penetration of road chemicals. True, the effects of this, frankly, is not too long. Tapping in the steering with electrical power steering is not much to be afraid of. This is a design feature of the mechanism rather than a breakdown. Usually knocks do not progress. Electrical equipment Outlander does not shine with reliability. During the production of the third generation of the crossover from 2012 to the present, the Japanese have carried out a dozen recall campaigns related only to electrics. The Russian had the most complaints about the ATAX units, the failures of which lead to inadequate operation of the cooling fans and low beam headlights. Often, the engine control module was bugged due to a defective relay regulator. But when the so-called comfort block failed, the electric windows spontaneously opened and closed, the central lock turns on and off by itself, and the side mirrors folded. The most interesting thing is that all the malfunctions were of a floating nature. The performances of a chaotic action ended, as a rule, as unexpectedly as they began. On restyled versions of electric frills, there are much less. And if suddenly your Outlander gets into emergency mode, the automatic transmission selector does not allow you to change gears, and the 4WD transmission malfunction lights up on the screen. Do not rush to panic. Most likely, the reversing light fuse has blown. Without it, the crossover simply will not go. The third Outlander is generally reliable. In addition, it is inexpensive to purchase and not ruinous in content. The engines are a priori devoid of serious problems. A strong suspension in the variator, having got rid of congenital source, has become much more durable. Servicemen consider the 6-cylinder crossover modification with an indestructible classic automatic to be the best choice. Let it be a little more expensive and taxes are higher. If you have had such a model, share information about what and how it breaks in the comments.